to make them happen after they've been designed. So if you are able to defeat your lands commission, you have the architects put your ideas into reality, then we will come and make it happen for you so that it's safe. Can we have the slide, please? Okay, so I'd like to start with the regulatory environment. Engineering in this country is regulated by law. A lot of people don't seem to know that. Now we've made it our mission to let everybody know. The Engineering Council Law, Act 819-2012, is what regulates the practice of engineering. We also have the legislative instrument. But basically, the object of the council is to secure the highest professional standards in the practice of engineering. That's why the council has been set up. And some of the functions, actually, to regulate the practice of engineering, to license relevant and appropriate engineering bodies, to certify individuals and corporate bodies for registration. I'll explain that later on. So the council registers practitioners, that's individuals like me. It registers engineering firms. It also registers educational institutions that train engineers. And the programs that those engineering institutions run also have to be regulated, and the council has a say in what is taught. And it is also supposed to determine the limits to the areas of engineering practice and operation. I can't say that I'm an engineer and just go around and do anything I want. There are limits to that. Next, please. In this country, engineering practitioners are classified into 4 occupational groups. The common one that most people know are the engineers, like me. But also we have engineering technologists. We have engineering technicians. And also very recently, we have artisans who are also licensed to practice certain forms of engineering. So those are the 4 groups. So practitioners from all these 4 groups typically would come together at different levels before we're able to make an engineering project happen. And all these groups have to be licensed. That is what the law says. Now, I come from the Ghana Institution of Engineering. It is actually called a licensed body. It certifies engineers, and then the council gives us the licenses. Long time ago, we had the Ghana Institute of Engineers. That was the only body, but now we have others. So it's important to explain a few of these things. So the Ghana Institution of Engineering is licensed under the Engineering Council Act. What are our core objectives? To promote and advance the science and practice of engineering to the benefit of society in Ghana and in Africa. We are supposed to ensure that engineering practice in Ghana conforms to the established technical, environmental, and safety standards. And then also to ensure that members of the institution maintain professional standards, adhere to regulations and guidelines, and codes of ethics of the engineering practice. This is just to give you a snapshot of what the GhIE membership is as of now. We have fellows, we have senior professional engineers, the numbers are there, the professionals. The engineering technologists, engineering technicians, and craftsmen, they are a newer number, so you see that the numbers are a bit lower, but we are building up. We have some in trainees also, professional engineers, the technologists, and the technicians. So, what is the objective of engineering service, especially for construction? And these are the areas that should be of interest to you. We engineers, we tend to ensure that the projects are durable. All components of the projects for the full service life. We are also supposed to ensure that the projects are serviceable. If we say serviceability, we mean that the purpose for which it was constructed, you should have the best use of it. Somebody commented about how this building is fit for purpose. That's what we are talking about. At the end of the project, what you want to do with the project, you should get full realization for the full design life of the project. Safety. during construction and during use of the project. And then, of course, the economy, that's value for money, especially during the construction phase. Those are some of the things that the engineers will look out for when they come onto your project site. And if any of these things fail, then the engineer has failed. It's as simple as that. How do we achieve these objectives? There are lots of things that we do. We do feasibility studies and site surveys. These start before the project. There are design calculations, modeling, testing. This SIA I put here is a structural integrity assessment. I'll talk about it a bit later on. There are drawings, there are specifications, there's structural detailing. There is the element of construction supervision. Then we also have construction quality control programs to make sure that they work. And then at the end of it all, the constructed elements and installed services must work. That is how we make the objectives come true. How do we go about these things? We have technical guidance in many forms. We have building codes. In Ghana, we have the Ghana Building Code. We have the Ghana Building Regulations. The MMDAs also issue development permits, commonly referred to as the building permits. We have engineering standards and specifications that we work to. There are codes of practice to guide specific aspects, whether it's design, construction, fabrication, all those things. And some of the standards are, we have Ghana standards. People are really not aware of it, but they are there. We have the British standards, the European norms, a couple of American standards, depending on where the design comes from, who the contractor is. Some of these things come to play. Now, when it comes to the actual provision of engineering services, and this is where the law, the Engineering Council Act really kicks in. It is very clear about these things. And now we want all potential developers to be aware of this. Engineering services, whether they are design, supervision, the actual construction, they are supposed to be carried out by engineering practitioners licensed by the Ghana Engineering Council through a professional body. What the law says is that you cannot present yourself directly to the Engineering Council for registration. You have to be certified by what we call a professional body, like the Ghana Institution of Engineering. We will do the basic certification, present you to the council. If they are satisfied, you will be issued a license. Until you have that license, you are not supposed to hold yourself out as an engineer and provide any of these services. Of course, the engineering practitioners are supposed to be of good standing when you are engaging them and for the period of time they are providing you services. Now, for the licensed practitioners who are members of the GhIE, they all have registration numbers and they are supposed to stamp and sign relevant documents relating to their work. So if an engineer gives you a design or a report or something and it's not properly stamped and signed, you should ask him to do it. Just like the lawyer said, if he doesn't stamp it, the thing comes back. It will happen the same. If engineer gives you relevant documents, you try to process it, it's not stamped, it's not signed, it will not be accepted. And another thing we advise is that licensed practitioners should restrict their services to areas of their registered specializations. In short, avoid know-it-all engineers. There are certain engineers who think they know everything. I am an engineer, but I know that I don't know anything, and I know none of us knows everything. If you are picking a civil engineer, let him stick to civil engineering and not start straying to electrical engineering. It causes problems. And when the problems come, then they will dodge. But you will pay the bill anyway. So please, avoid it. And then we also want you to know that relevant details of all GhIE members may be confirmed by at the GhIE Secretariat. So if you are not sure, please, a call, walk in, whatever it is, the information is there. They will let you know the status of that particular engineer and whether he is at that point in time of good standing enough to provide the service that you want him to provide. Okay. Okay, typical engineering consideration for building project. We have many, many different engineering specializations. So depending on what your project is or your interest is, there are different types. We have geomatic engineers. They deal with surveying, generally demarcating, measuring, alignment, and things. What geomatic engineers do is that they enable a spatial appreciation of the site conditions based on georeference data. Many years ago, they were using poles and chains and things. Now with GIS, with remote sensing, and they become very sophisticated. And the information they give you is actually georeference. It tends to be very accurate. And wherever in the world, they won't give you a site plan that will end up in the ocean. It won't happen. It will never happen if it's geomatic. Then we have the geotechnical, geophysical guys. They tend to do ground investigations, commonly referred to as soil tests. That label is an anachronism, but it's still used. But they are geotechnical ground investigations. They also look at construction materials, quality testing, etc. What these guys do is that they enable engineering geological appreciation of the ground conditions at the site, including seismic response parameters. These days, it has become very important that we look at seismic responses, what you call earthquakes, and how they will affect your property, depending on where you are. There are ways of, estimating what will happen if an earth tremor should pass. And because churches typically or church activities typically involve large numbers of people, we are particularly concerned with that. Because when you have a huge congregation and certain incidences occur, the results could be catastrophic. So we advise that when things like this are being built, seismic design is very critical for church kind of projects. And then we also have the hydrological engineering people. They tend to do flood assessments and things. So when you are developing projects over large areas, in certain areas, it is good to have an idea of possible problems you may encounter if it rains beyond a certain point, or these days it doesn't even need to rain much. Because somebody has built his filling station in some waterway, you could end up having lots and lots of problems. And it could happen even after you have built your thing. So it's good to do these kind of things. Now, the thing about these, particularly these three sets of engineering activities, is they tend to precede the design and implementation. So most of these things can happen years before you actually build. You see, so people don't know that these are important and they should be done. At times they go, and when they are going for a permit and things, they tell them, where is this? Then it becomes an issue. But we are advising that for your projects, you should know that these things are important and it should be done in time so that you have a better appreciation of what you're going to do. Then we come to the ones which most people see. Structural engineering, the design and construction issues. This is the actual realization of the structure. So you see it going up, and then the column sizes, the cantilevers. You can see this place has been well designed. The whole of this stretch, you don't see a column standing here. Somebody has done the job well. That's the kind of thing the structural engineers do. And then drainage and waste management. As urbanization becomes more and more complicated, it's wiser for people now to pay more attention to this so that you can actually operate in a livable environment. The MEP stands for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing works. These days, they have also become very specialized as we build more and more of these complex structures. So they do the installation, operation, maintenance of the utility, HVAC, the security, and other critical services to make sure your projects function well, and then they are safe. All of these people come together to give you a good project. And activities related to these are normally visible. That's the one that people see most of the time.